be disbarred until that case is decided one way or the other. And if you're a person who has committed heinous offenses, like rape or murder, you will be permanently disbarred. I saw in today's newspaper that the law department is thinking of putting these two up for legislation. If they are, well, it's a useful implement to electoral reforms. And of course, apart from all this, one other aspect of electoral reforms would be realizing the need for democracy within political parties. I'll explain this a little bit more. You know, if you look at it carefully, it's not only India, it's the United States, it's Britain and so on, all the people in the vanguard of democracy. None of them has got any democracy in the true sense of the word, for the reason that all the people who are eligible to vote are on the register to vote. There's no problem there, not on the voting side. The problem is on the candidature side, because there is no competition, there's no freedom there. Whether it's the United States or Britain or India, it is a small coterie that decides who is going to be a candidate. So in a sense you might say the old situation of the ruled and the ruler and the ruled, that still exists. You may not have a monarchy today, but instead of a king, you might say you've got a small coterie on one side. They are the rulers. They remain rulers for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And here in Goa, I've been hearing this again and again. The same faces, the same families. So they are the rulers. Never mind, it's not Portuguese rule any longer. Never mind, there's no king somewhere in the background. It's all supposed to be democracy. But the essentials have not changed. You have the rule and you have the rulers. Now, if you want to bring down the rulers to the level of the ruled, then you will have to have proper democracy within the party. The Supreme Court has been asking the Election Commission to make sure that there is democracy within parties, that elections are carried out properly. So far, the Election Commission has not been very intrusive. They accept reports from political parties. These are the categories, these are the dates due, and on the other hand, these are the elections that we have had. We don't know if they are proper elections. I think it's high time now for the Election Commission to move in, to be proactive, and to even conduct these elections. And to have observers, independent observers from civil society to observe everything, so that everything is transparent. Because this is the very nub, of democracy. If you have competition among the rulers, and they come down to the level of the ruled, then it's real democracy, otherwise it isn't. What you have today is basically universal adult suffrage, nothing more than that. Now, in addition to electoral reform, there are two steps which need to be taken. You know, even if you cut the need for money and the need for criminals at the root, you still have ministers and bureaucrats and all that whose palms are itching. So they still want to make money. So what you do is, you can fall in line with one development which is quite universal in some of these developed democracies today. What they find is that ministers and people like that neither have the time nor the inclination to attend to complex matters of government. So they are leaving these matters to unelected bodies. Unelected bodies of experts, and these bodies of experts are independent. They can decide for themselves. So in a sense, the politicians are hiving off these difficult things to these bodies. In India, two good examples would be the Supreme Court and the Election Commission. Tomorrow, you could have a third one, which would be terribly effective. I mean, the moment you have an independent police commission, the face of this country will change. Can you imagine if politicians cannot control policemen? What, that'd be a real hit in the solar plexus. And these politicians will collapse. They won't be able to do the kind of things they are doing today. I attended, in fact, I was a commoner's observer of the Sri Lankan elections some years ago. And I was touring the area, complete quiet, everybody going and casting his vote, no trouble at all. No fracas anywhere. So I asked each other, how do you manage to get to a situation this guy? They said, we have a police commission. And a proper police commission, which we don't have here. You could start with that. You could also start with the Human Rights Commission, which is toothless, which can only recommend. How lovely it would be if after some carnage somewhere in eastern UP or in those parts, some carnage involving communities, if the Human Rights Commission could decide on prosecution immediately, it would be lovely. And even better, Human Rights Commission could have its own courts to try these cases. So if you start with the Human Rights Commission and you start with the Police Commission, this country will begin to change. And you could have many more. Now what business has a minister to deal with things like 2G and 3G and all that, unless he's a businessman and he's out there only to make money. These are things which are beyond the ken of the ordinary person. These things should be handled by experts. Now, if you create a situation of this kind, and I don't mean, and they're all bureaucracies, whether they are technocrats or whatever, eventually they are bureaucracies. And if all the important work of government is going to be handled by these people, their temptations are going to be very strong. So they're going to tend to be corrupt, very corrupt. All the money is going to be concentrated, right? And this is where Mr. Hazare comes in. You need a strong Lokpal to decide when to investigate, when to prosecute, and after conviction, when to take action for the final severance of services of whoever that person is, whether he's a politician or a non-politician or even a judge for that matter. and even more, to confiscate the ill-gotten gains. That's very important. There's no point in sending a person to jail. He'll go there. Jails are very comfortable nowadays, especially if you go to Tihar jail. Thanks to Kiran Medium, she's made a 5-star hotel. So you can go there and enjoy yourself. But if you confiscate their property, then they're going to start howling. There's a case, I mean, Bihar has got its own law against corrupt people. I was very amused the other day. There's somebody called S.S. Verma, who was a subdivisional officer when I was commissioner somewhere. And he's been nabbed. He's, what? Foreign exchange alone, he had a few crores in his house. And his house, I mean the one he was living in, he must be having lots of houses now. The house he's living in was just taken away by the government and converted into a school. I'm told by people in the Bihar cadre. So he went and begged the chief minister, so for God's sake, put me in jail any number of times, but don't take away my house. So, this is what I've got to say to you today. And we'll discuss further.
You have the question-answer session now. The floor is open.
My name is Lyngdoh D'Souza. It was a very lively, speech that you gave, but unfortunately we don't have very many audience. I don't know why. Because people here in Goa, they start shouting and crying, we want electoral reforms. And when we see a fine former chief election commissioner come here and speak, there's hardly any crowd. But now my question here is, after hearing you, the legislature and executive, you said, go hand in hand. Now today what is happening here in Goa? We have this illegal mining scam. Everybody is blaming the ministers. But why is nobody blaming the executive? The chief secretary has been sleeping. The mining secretary has been sleeping. The director of mines has been sleeping. Why are they not taken to task? Last time when the Shah Commission came here, he says we have got a high court bench in Goa. If somebody approaches the court, even otherwise the court has got suo motu powers. But here also we find that the higher judiciary which you are praising is also sleeping. Sorry, I am not, trying to have any contempt of court or, malign the higher judiciary. But we are talking of illegal mining scam in a small state like Goa. And we see that the executive and legislature, the ministers and secretaries are always hugging each other, embracing each other. They want plum postings, they want extension of service after retirement, they want to go on foreign jaunts, and they are also involved in money making. So here my question to you is, what is the election commission doing in that direction? Because whenever a state goes to vote, we find that the bureaucracy, the policemen are all hand in gloves here with certain political class. You can hear me? Your mic is gone. So you see what is happening is I want to know from you. The election commission, they depute central observers here. But what are they observing? Only the greenery and the beaches here. Money exchange goes on, by the dozen. So here, as you said, why can't we have some good central observers deputed during the election time here? Let there be one person from the judiciary, maybe one from the bureaucracy, one from the civil society, so that they can man and observe what is happening during election time. How there is flow of money, flow of alcohol, where vote capturing is taking place. Now the latest thing is hiring voting contractors. We hire a building contractor to build a building or a bungalow. Now the politicians have decided to hire a voting contractor. They give him lump sum money and they say, come on, how many votes can you garner? 500, 600, 800? Yes, take this much of money. And now with this huge illegal money coming into the state of Goa, which will come back to the electorate, do you think that here in Goa, a small state like Goa, where there is high literacy, we can expect a fair governance and fair, future for our state? What are your comments on this?
I entirely agree with you, and I would be asking the same question. I think I'll give you a different perspective of a similar situation. I went to Ranchi some time back, and we were looking at all these corruption cases. There's a public prosecutor there who's like you don't have anywhere in India. His name is Sanjeev Kumar, and he was saying that, what do you expect me to do in this state? The governor's house is raided every day. A chief minister, ex-chief minister is sitting in jail. Some ex-ministers are sitting in jail. Most of the senior bureaucrats are being prosecuted. And he says, very soon, it will be my privilege to see 1,000 of these people sitting in jail. Which means that, he had already accomplished a few hundreds. Now, that man is not an isolated creature. He's part of civil society. In other words, civil society in Ranchi has come to that level that it has produced people like that. When you're able to forge a civil society in Goa of the same standard, you don't need to ask me all these questions. You'll be too busy filing cases against various people. Now, then the second part of what you said was about bribing voters, about which I've already spoken. And I also said that it's not clear whom these voters vote for. Because they take freebies from everybody. I wouldn't worry too much about voters taking freebies. I'm quite confident that the Indian voter knows where to put it. But yes, I am concerned about the other people who are not being prosecuted, the bureaucrats and other people who should be. I think I answered your question.
Mr. Lyngdoh, sir.